Hey guys, this is one last clown story. I'm sure you're all sick and tired of hearing these clown stories. So what do you guys think? Should I use that voice? Should I use this voice? Or should I use number one? Ha ha ha. Just kidding guys, Sinful here. I have one last crazy fucking clown story that I think you guys are going to enjoy. Sit back, relax, stay sinful. I'm a female. And when I was 16, I hung out mostly with a small group of friends. Toby was gay, John was a small guy who posed at being macho, and a foreign exchange student from Spain named Maria. At the time, both John and I had a crush on Maria, since she was bisexual, so we both attempted to impress her any time an opportunity arose. So on to the story. One night in October, we're all hanging out at Toby's smoking weed, like the fly little shits we were. And Maria said that she wished we could do something crazy, since Halloween was close, and it was our first in the States. Both of them are from Spain. Me, being the absolute pussy that I am, loved the idea of doing scary things like ghost hunts and shit, but actually doing them freaked me out. I wanted to impress her with my bravery, or stupidity. However you look at it, I suggested going to this place called Spider Gates. It's an old cemetery in Leicester, Maryland, that is a bit of a hike into the woods. And super old, but it was supposed to be super haunted. So we drove the half hour in my dad's beat-up Pathfinder to the middle of nowhere, till we came to a path that led deep into the woods where the cemetery was. I parked across the street. The car didn't really lock because it was so old and beat up, so we just left it and took the keys. We smoked a bowl or two on our way to the cemetery, and once we got there, we were stoned out of our minds. So we walk around the cemetery for a little while, and nothing significant really happens. We hear some rustling and shit, which was probably just animals, and the wind blowing through the trees made eerie howling sounds, but it was nothing out of the ordinary. We go to a part of the cemetery where the ground is raised a bit, like you're standing on a stage, and there are trees surrounding it, basically in a circle, and then we proceed to smoke another bowl. We were there for it must have been like 20 minutes, just talking and smoking, and laughing about stupid shit, when we heard loud, heavy crunches through leaves, and twigs coming from deeper in the woods, from the opposite direction that we had come. Didn't sound like an animal. We all quieted down and looked, but it had stopped. We shrugged it off quick. Looking back, this was stupid because even if it wasn't a person, we live in an area that there are bears, and then we went back to smoking. John and I flirted pathetically with Maria, while Toby flirted with John. It was a pretty good night. Then Maria stops and tells us to look into the woods. Right where she was pointing, probably 50 to 100 yards away, there was a light. It basically looked like somebody was just holding a flashlight pointed towards us, but they were so far away that the beam didn't reach us. A few seconds later it went out, and we could hear this really weird high-pitched, hyena-like laughing. I'm talking some crazed, maniacal, clown-like shit. What the fuck was that? We were miles from houses. Before anybody really said anything, another light flashed on. This time a bit closer, and probably 50 or so yards to the left of the first one. We could hear running through the woods from the direction of the first light when the second one went out, and then the same creepy-ass laughter. We communally decided to nope the fuck out of there and started pretty hastily back down the trail. It was a really dark night. I think the clouds were really heavy in front of the moon, so seeing anything besides what our cell phones illuminated in the night was pretty impossible. A couple minutes down the path, we started to calm down a bit and talk about what the fuck had just happened. But after only a few seconds of calm, the heavy footsteps started up behind us in the leaves. We stopped and turned. About 50 feet behind us, only barely visible, was the outline of something in the middle of the path. I probably would have shit myself if I wasn't so high. John, being the brave macho guy, stepped out and yelled at whatever it was to leave us the fuck alone. A light switched on. I'm assuming in the person's hand, and they didn't move. They just stood there holding the light. This time they were close enough for the beam to fall onto us, though. John yelled at the person for probably another 30 seconds or so before they turned off the light, and we could see him walking away. All we heard was the same crazy laughing from far into the woods. We quickly made our way the fuck out of there and went back to the car. We got in, ready to drive as far away as we could, but when I turned the key, nothing. Not even the slow turning over. Nothing. John liked to think he knew about cars, so we all got out and he looked under the hood. The 2 cables that connect the battery were hanging free. The screws that attach them around the posts or terminals, or whatever you call them, were missing. He didn't know if we could reconnect them without the screws, and honestly, I still don't. So we decided to call for help. No cell service. So what the fuck do we do now? We're in the middle of the woods with a dead car, and no way to contact anybody, and we were sure those creeps weren't far behind, because we could hear them like fucking hyenas, playing manhunt in the forest. Luckily, a minute or so after, a car came down the road and, seeing our hood up, pulled to the side of the road to see if we needed help. I was really happy to see that it was 2 older women and not some maniacally laughing freak. We gladly accepted a ride from them to the nearest place with cell service. We called our parents to pick us up. Needless to say, they were sort of upset with us for going to the cemetery in the first place, since it's technically trespassing, and for leaving the car there. But overall, they were glad we were fine after getting in the car with strangers, however nice and innocent they were. The next day, my dad, Toby, and I went back to get the car. Weirdly, we both had cell service. Not sure what the fuck was going on there. I'm just glad that those 2 old women came by and offered a ride when they did. I'm not exactly sure if they were just having some twisted version of fun, or if they were out there to do actual harm, but I'm glad we didn't have the chance to find out. So maniacally laughing hyena clowns in the woods, let's never fucking meet again. Or hey, maybe I'll have a surprise for you. Thanks again, guys. Please make sure to leave a like, comment, share, subscribe to the Sinful Society if you haven't already. I really need holiday stories, guys. Anything from Thanksgiving scary stories to Christmas to Hanukkah, anything. Doesn't have to be a religious holiday. Anything around wintertime and holiday type theme stories. So email those to me. My email's in the description box below. Until we meet again, stay sinful.